Hello all newcomers and welcome back fellow Eternians. My name is Emperor AP and today we are going to be talking about micronational economics. I just want to start off by saying I know there's been a little bit of a slowdown in video progress, videos coming out, and the main reason for that has been I have been doing a lot of planning on a lot of exciting stuff and a lot of exciting new projects that are going to come out on the channel, so bear with me, but we've got a lot in store. Now, part of the thing that I was working on was this, which is a series on micronational economics and economies, because as of right now, going into developing my own micronation, this lovely nation that I am happy to be a part of with all of you, I haven't been able to find any guides, any specific resources for developing a micronational economy that is reasonable or that isn't an idea based on macronational economies, which are in my opinion, two very different things. Because macronational economies deal with economies of scale, economies that are very large, economies that deal in billions, trillions of dollars sometimes, in a modern age. Micronational economies, however, if taken seriously and literally and not inflated in any way, are based generally on the economy of a small group of people or of something the size of, say, a small business, something like that. Now, there are some businesses in today's world that are huge, and that have the GDPs of small nations and things like that, like Apple and like Microsoft and stuff. But for the most part, talking about micronations, things are a bit smaller. I've seen certain guides on the internet and things when you look up, for example, how to start a micronational economy. How do you get an economy started off the ground if you're a micronation? How do you make an economy? People talk about, like on Reddit and things like that, oh well, if you had a private island, if you had a lot of land, if you had something like that, you could start building crops, planting crops, building infrastructure, creating milling machines, doing things that are for like timber industries and things like that. These very large, these large industries that take a lot of money up front in order to create and in order to actually get any profit from. And besides the fact that you're creating such a large industry that you have to have large suppliers, you have to have people already signed up, large businesses who are going to take all of your product. So dealing with all of that, it becomes very troublesome for an individual or for a small group of people to feel like they can actually start something. But that's not true. So if any of you are looking for ways to start a micronational economy, if you're wondering about how we are going about starting our micronational economy, and if you're just someone interested in economics, please stick around, because this series, which is going to end up being a 3-part series overall, because I wanted to do this topic justice and I wanted to make sure that I gave you all the facts that I understand about it and the things that I have come to appreciate about sort of a slow grind up to success. What can be done as a micronation? What can honestly, sincerely be done in the age of the internet, in an age of upstart businesses, in an age of entrepreneurship? I think there's a lot that can be done if you were sincerely trying to create your own micronation and trying to make money off of it. So with that, we can definitely get into it. The first thing for our very first part, in our first part we are going to be covering the need for an economy as far as micronations. Why you need an economy as a micronation, because a lot of people when founding micronations, when starting micronations, don't take this into account. For a lot of people, they use their own resources, things they get from jobs, things they get from whatever their normal income is, which is absolutely fine and which is a good place to start as a micronation, because you're starting from the ground up, you're starting from yourself. However, a lot of the time that can lead to sort of stagnation, because you only have so much that you have, and you need that for yourself. You need that to be able to continue to prosper yourself. So sometimes that can make your micronation lacking in what it needs to actually grow and develop, unless you have a lot of money, which if you do, fantastic for you. You can get a lot further a lot quicker. But for the rest of us, the majority of the time, we need something that'll get us started and get us going. So talking about what is the reason for an economy and why we want to do this in the first place is to be able to fund things. That's what we all want, to be able to fund projects. If you have a micronation, you know that you always want to have projects going. For me and for this channel and for my micronation, that's both something that deals in the internet as well as outside of it. We always are trying to do things that ups the ante, that gives us a little bit extra definition, and that gives us a little more prominence in the micronational community as well as in our macronational community. So that's something that's very important to me personally. In developing that, you have to understand that creating these projects, defining these things, and giving yourself a place to grow ultimately costs money. Nothing comes for free, and the more that you do, the more that it's going to cost, and the more that it's going to continue to cost for every day, every week, every month that you are around. So in order to make sure that you stay around, and in order to make sure that you can compete, you have to have a steady flow of income. It can't just be what you can put here or there if you're trying to seriously grow from 1 person to 10 people to 100 people to 1,000 people. So with something like that, you have to find a specific side source of income that is going to be constant and that you can work toward and that you can put effort and time and money toward. So that's why these economies become so important. As well, when you start to get to that size, when you say, hey, it's more than just me, it's more than just what I want to do now, I have this little, let's say this little business or this little project that I'm trying to start, I need people to help me with it. If I really want to make a lot of money with this, if I really want to build this project to say build a farm or to say build a big headquarters for my micronation, or let's say I want to design a big artwork or something for my micronation, a big statue, whatever it is, something cool that you want to do, or even to have an outing for your micronation. Hey, we want to go on a camping trip. Hey, we want to go hunting, or whatever it is you like to do. You have to have money to do that. You have to have travel expenses. You have to have everything covered. And most importantly, if people are going to be dedicating their time to this, there are a lot of people who will volunteer, and there are a lot of people who will give their time, but people can't always give their time for free. And it's something that's not necessarily that they don't want to do. It's more of something that they have to do in order to make sure that they can continue making money for their family, if they're having to put time aside from a job. All of these things are important to know because they may need money to keep going. So in order for you to treat your people correctly, in order for you to make them feel like they always want to come back to these projects, they always want to make sure that they are the first in line to do this, a lot of the time you'll have to get into paying people if you're making money yourself especially. So the way to go about that is through this economy. You have to have something that funds not only your projects, not only your income, and backs your wallet, but backs theirs too, which makes them happier, which makes them even more dedicated to your micronation. It makes them even more feel like this is something real, this is something tangible, and this is something that I can be a part of. Hey guys, sorry about the cut there. I had to go and do something, but now we are back and on to our final point. So the last thing that we are going to talk about in this video is trading with other micronations, and the reason that that is important for why you need an economy. When you are working as a micronation and you want to be able to create and expand your own business, whatever it is that you're trying to do, a big important step in that is realizing that you have other neighbors around you, whether it's macronational, whether it's micronational, that have other benefits that they can provide to you. Everybody, no matter who they are, no matter what they're doing, always has things that they have, abilities that they have, and things that they need. One, in order to sustain their businesses, whatever it is they need, they always need suppliers, people to give them things that they need in order to create their products, in order to do whatever it is that they do. There's always something that comes before in the step before they are able to create and sell their final good, final product. The other thing is that while they're working on whatever it is that their product is, whatever it is that their industry is, whatever it is that their economy is based out of, you also have another whole portion of their lives that is just consumption, that is just about finding everything else that they don't spend their time creating and making for themselves that they have to buy. And when looking at starting a business, when looking at things from an economic standpoint, it's very important to realize that, and it's very important to decide what it is that you specifically are going to go after in creating a business and doing something like that. So, interestingly enough, that gives you an outlet. That gives you a specific spot to start from. That gives you a specific outlet to start and plan what it is that your business, what it is that your economic gains are going to be brought in from. And that's a pretty interesting standpoint to look at, to realize that no matter who you are, no matter what you're doing, there are always things every day that you need that you cannot make for yourself. And so when thinking about that, think about all the things that people buy, think about all the things that people create, and then you can use that to start basing your own businesses, to start realizing, hey, these are things that I can do that I don't think other people can do. These are things that I'm able to create that other people can't. But getting off of that tangent, because we're going to save a lot more of that for another video, trading with other micronations. When you have an economy, the benefit of that is that you can always create for other nations. If you have an economy and they have an economy, they have something they do and you have something you do, you can always trade for those things so that you both have more mutual benefit. Because you can always keep things that you make, they can always keep things that they make, but when you trade, you have some new things that you wouldn't have had otherwise, they have some new things that they wouldn't have otherwise, and hopefully you can find a way to do it that is either more profitable for both of you than buying it micronationally, or is cheaper for both of you than buying it micronationally. And so that's the big benefit of all this, is that you're actually creating little trade networks for yourself that are growing what you can do economically as well as a micronation. And that's an exciting prospect in and of itself. As well, just having an economy by itself means that any ally that you gain, any micronation that you come across, is automatically going to have a little bit more respect for you, and you're going to have a little bit more negotiating room at the table because you have money, because you have your own foundation to stand on and to say, hey, this is what we do, this is how much we make, this is how much we have to bring to the table for trade, for economy, for developing your nation, for helping you develop our nation, for creating together, and for making a strong alliance, for defining something that will be really beneficial for you and to make you want to join and become a friend to our nation instead of one that either rejects us or may become an enemy. It gives you so much worth individually and as a collective to be able to say that you're doing something and to be able to have a means of trading with the outside world and of being able to make a sustainable form of income that ultimately brings you back in gains that can grow exponentially, that can continue to grow throughout the lifetime of your nation. And as well, the more that you put back into those things, the more that you get out of them, and the more that you can also put toward other projects that can all grow together and can create a network of businesses that work together and benefit each other and make all their costs go down because you have other places to start looking at these things and other places to start building, not only from a trade network point of view with other micronations or with macronational entities or with your own other businesses. So all of these things become huge stepping stones, and I hope you can see through that how having an economy, how just saying I want to start this, gives you this stepping stone mentality and this ability to start jumping and running as you learn to walk, essentially, in creating your own micronation and making this a viable reality. So I hope that was a good explanation of why micronations need economies and how you yourself can get one started, how it is reasonable and absolutely possible for a micronation to have an economy. So when you look online and you see things that say, I don't know about that, that might not be possible, they're thinking in this very economics of scale sort of idea, this idea that you need to think big, you need to think about having large hundreds, thousands of people, when you don't necessarily, when you can start off from a very small step and grow and grow and grow every single day. So that is why these economies are important, that is why they are vital to a micronation, and that is why you should stay tuned for part 2 of this series. In part 2, we are going to be discussing something very important, which is the next stepping stone to this whole idea. Going beyond why we need one and more specifically getting into how you create one. That's probably going to be by far the longest video in this series, because it's actually going to be broken up into 2 other parts that are going to finish off the series. The first part is going to be talking about the setup, thinking about your ideas, creating things that you need, realizing what other people need, things like that, and then going into our fourth thing, which is how you actually go about planning your business, your industry, and executing on that. So all of those things are going to become vital to actually how you go about developing this. You can certainly go out and do research on your own, look into things with businesses and stuff like that, but that's what we're going to be talking about, and I hope that gives a more in-depth, more clear guide to how you can do that yourself, which is why I implore you, please stay tuned for our next video in the series. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this has been insightful, and please give me a comment. Let me know what you think. Like, dislike, let me know your opinion on this, because it's important to me to get this right, and it's important to me to see other micronations be able to grow and to be able to understand that you're not alone, that you don't have this one way, this impossible standard to try and achieve if you want to do something realistically. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.